We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
Aid for Gaza. No labels pulls out of the presidential race. Jobs news and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. Despite the fact that Israel has had a ceasefire proposal on the table for 6 weeks that Hamas has refused, President Biden warned Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Thursday that future U.S. support hinges on protecting civilians and aid workers in Gaza, signaling for the first time that the White House would reassess backing Israel's war in the enclave. In a phone call, Biden demanded an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and urged Netanyahu to empower his negotiators to conclude a deal to bring Israeli hostages home, according to a White House statement. The call came days after Israel killed 7 aid workers from World Central Kitchen in what Netanyahu has described as a tragic mistake. The deaths ignited a firestorm of international outrage at Israel's conduct and created enormous pressure on the Israeli leader. 2 Israeli soldiers responsible for the mistake have been removed from the Israeli military. Israel has agreed to open another border crossing and allow the use of another port to provide aid for Palestinian civilians. No Labels, the centrist group which has sought to field a third-party presidential bid, is abandoning efforts to create a unity ticket, aiming to win the White House, the organization announced on Thursday. Nancy Jacobson, No Labels founder and CEO, said in a statement that the organization had vowed it would only offer our ballot line to a ticket if we could identify candidates with a credible path to winning the White House. No such candidates emerged, so the responsible course of action is for us to stand down. She said in a statement that the group would remain engaged in promoting unity and giving voice to America's common sense majority. The federal judge presiding over former President Trump's classified records case has denied his motion to dismiss the charges based on the Presidential Records Act. U.S. District Court Judge Aileen Cannon last month also dismissed Trump's motion to dismiss charges of retaining classified documents on the grounds of unconstitutional vagueness. In a filing on Thursday, Cannon denied the former president's motion to dismiss, saying that the charges against Trump make no reference to the Presidential Records Act, nor do they rely on that statute for purposes of stating an offense. Employers added 303,000 jobs in March, the Labor Department said in its monthly payroll report released Friday, easily topping the 200,000 gain forecast by economists. The unemployment rate inched lower to 3.8%. Among the major worker groups, the unemployment rate for blacks increased in March to 6.4%, while the rates for Asians, 2.5%, and Hispanics, 4.5%, decreased. The jobless rates for adult men, 3.3%, adult women, 3.6%, teenagers, 12.6%, and whites, 3.4%, showed little or no change over the month. Amazon is trimming hundreds of jobs from its AWS cloud computing business in its latest round of layoffs, aimed at slashing costs. Amazon Web Services on Wednesday said the cutbacks will affect several hundred jobs in sales, marketing, and global services, as well as hundreds more from the physical store's technology team. An AWS spokesperson said Amazon is hiring within its core business areas. We've identified a few targeted areas of the organization we need to streamline in order to continue focusing our efforts on the key strategic areas that we believe will deliver maximum impact. We didn't make these decisions lightly, and we're committed to supporting the employees throughout their transition to new roles in and outside of Amazon, a company spokesperson said in a statement. These decisions are difficult but necessary as we continue to invest, hire, and optimize resources to deliver innovation for our customers. Apple is laying off more than 600 workers in its first major job cuts since the COVID-19 pandemic, coming on the heels of the company's decision to cancel its vaunted electric car project. The tech giant gave 614 employees notice of the cuts on March 28th, with changes to take effect May 27th, according to state records in California. Workers are being laid off across 8 offices in Santa Clara, though it wasn't clear which projects the employees were working on. The layoffs come a little more than a month after reports that Apple had axed its decade-long plan to build a self-driving electric car. Americans believe they need $1.46 million to retire in style. The new magic number for retirement, found in a study by Northwestern Mutual, is 15% higher than what people thought they needed last year, and 53% higher than the amount people in 2020 pictured themselves needing to feel comfortable leaving the workforce to sit on a beach in Florida. It's also more than most people have socked away. On average, U.S. adults have $88,400 saved for retirement. Stronger than anticipated economic activity this year hasn't changed the Federal Reserve's broad expectation that declining inflation will allow for interest rate cuts later in the year, Chair Jerome Powell said on Wednesday. Powell pointed to signs that labor market conditions are less tight than they have been in recent years, a view that has eased concerns that paychecks and prices might rise in tandem. Meanwhile, signs of firmer than expected inflation in January and February haven't shaken the Fed's stance that price growth will continue to slow down despite some bumps, Powell said at a conference in Stanford, California. An internal memo showing panic within the Democratic Party over its nonpartisan voter registration efforts, potentially helping former President Trump, is drawing criticism from those who say the registration efforts were a partisan scam from the start. Democrats across the country have become increasingly concerned over the amount of support Trump is pulling from usually reliable demographics, and donors have been bickering over an internal memo casting doubt on whether the party should continue using nonprofits to register unregistered voters over fears it could help Trump, the Washington Post reported this week. Indeed, if we were to blindly register non-voters and get them on the rolls, we would be distinctly adding Trump's quest for a personal dictatorship, the memo explained, casting doubt on the long-standing Democratic voter registration push that typically has resulted in favorable results in previous elections. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.